AITA for asking a disabled man's carer to not let him touch me? I was traveling home after a long trip and stopped at a gas station to use the restroom. It was unusually busy and I had to stand in line for the women's room. Also in line was 2 women and several handicapped men. Down syndrome most likely. Not sure if it matters, just want to paint the scene. Who were also going to use the restroom. I have no problem with everyone using any bathroom. I'm also very friendly to people regardless of their disabilities. But the man behind me was grabbing himself. Maybe just because he really had to pee, but still. And he was trying to get my attention and was touching me on the arms. I'm autistic myself and have a hard time being touched in general, and I had been driving for more than 6 hours, and I looked at the women and said, "Please don't let him touch me." And they yelled at me and said I was very rude and mean. I just told them that I don't like being touched, peed and went on my way. I get that he can't help it, but when they're taking men into the women's room when they know they like to touch people, I felt like it was their responsibility to assure the comfort of the people around them. Do you all think I overreacted? NTA. None of the disabilities matter. You didn't want to be touched. It's your body and you're allowed to voice that. Oh, NTA. Easy. He shouldn't be touching you. And their job is to help him navigate and be independent. Which means prompting him to act appropriately with strangers. NTA. Just because he's disabled doesn't mean you have to shove aside your own personal comfort. Their caregiver needs to not be an enabler. NTA. No one has the right to just touch you at will. You sound like you were very polite in your request, and these carers not very good at reciprocating. Only thing I would have done different is maybe address the man first. Please don't touch me. NTA. If I was on shift, I would have apologized and never let it happen again. If my client was tactile like that, I would distance. INTA. You asked politely, and it is very reasonable for someone not to touch random people. NTA. Nobody has the right to touch you without your permission. And the caretaker should AHVE stop them from doing that. NTA. The caregiver should not have had that reaction. However, an even better way you could have handled it would be to speak directly to the man touching you, rather than the caregiver to give him agency. Saying to him, "I'm not comfortable being touched by strangers," would be recognizing his humanity a bit more. Maybe he would have understood on his own what he was doing wrong, or maybe his caregiver could then step in to correct the errant behavior. Most people with Down syndrome, even those who are profoundly disabled, understand common language. Obviously you didn't know his disability or his level of understanding. But generally the best thing to do is always to speak directly to the person you're addressing, even if they aren't capable of communicating back to you. The people with them will know whether to allow them to respond or to respond for them. NTA. He shouldn't be touching you. End of. NTA. You weren't rude or super mean. Also, I don't like to be touched either. I try to be nicer to people with disabilities, but still. Hands to themselves. NTA. I didn't even have to read beyond the title to know your NTA, but I did just to confirm. It is always okay to tell someone to not touch you if you're uncomfortable. NTA. It's always okay to tell someone not to touch you. Nobody should be touching you without permission. NTA. Caretakers probably got defensive because you made it clear they weren't taking proper responsibility of the person they were caring for. If someone can't maintain proper boundaries, caregivers should be enforcing proper boundaries. They clearly weren't. NTA. Consent is consent, period. You didn't want to be touched. You shouldn't be touched. It didn't sound rude. Even if it was. You have every right to not want someone who is touching their junk to also touch you. NTA, I'm sorry. But if this person can't adhere to social norms, perhaps they need a situation with more supervision. If someone is grabbing their crotch and touching you, etiquette is far gone. Even if this wasn't intended as sexual assault, I wouldn't assume someone behaving this way would respond appropriately. But I would likely raise my voice and tell them to stop touching me. The more diplomatic approach is addressing the caretakers. So I guess a lot of people here think the diplomatic approach makes you the aw. In the future, simply raise your voice and demand the perpetrator cease and desist. You underreacted. NTA at all. I was molested by a mentally disabled person as a child multiple times and was too scared to ever say a word because I didn't know if he knew what he was doing or not. And I was a petrified child. I now have severe anxiety when I'm in close proximity to severely mentally incapacitated individuals in public. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. NTA at all. I'm a behavioral therapist and my focus is on young children with an autism diagnosis. Sometimes kids will touch up here and not stop when asked. So we have a discussion about why consent is important and so is treating people how we want to be treated. These kids understand and are quick to implement it, even if they forget sometimes. There's no excuse for an adult man to forget. And there's especially no excuse for his caregivers to allow him to harass people in public. NTA, you never have to feel bad about requesting that someone nor touch you. NTA, his disability does not give him the right to touch whoever he wants to touch. You are completely right to ask to have his handlers control his behavior.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.